background for the scheme has been the integration of all public universities and TVET colleges into the student-centered model wherein students apply directly to NSFAS for funding. We do not intend to go back to giving money to institutions to then decide who gets funded. None whatsoever. We undertook an forensic investigation some years ago, and we found that there was just a lot of corruption. That's why we decided on a student funding model. Let students apply directly to NSFAS. We don't intend to change that. We think it has improved a lot in terms of better funding of students and distribution of these resources. In this current financial year, NSFAS is funding just over 1 million students, and this follows an unprecedented surge in the number of applications received by the scheme. The entity has been working tirelessly to ensure that it improves on its processes for application and ensuring quick turnaround times on funding decisions in preparation for the 2024 academic year. You would agree with me that in order for NSFAS to successfully implement the funding of students in 2024, there needs to be closure of the 2023 funding cycle. This includes the finalization of all the appeals and payments of all outstanding allowances for the academic year 2023. NSFAS is determined to do that, and we've insisted that NSFAS must do that. For all those students who did not get successful funding responses for the 2023 academic year, they are also encouraged to apply for the 2024 funding cycle. Let me also indicate that the proposed 2024 funding policy is almost complete and will be issued by the end of November to allow stakeholders to prepare for the 2024 academic year. I do need to say this, that after this press conference, I am still going to be engaging all the key stakeholders before the end of the year in order to ensure that everything is in place, including finalization of policy, meeting with the university vice-chancellors, meeting with the TVET college principals, meeting with the student leadership, meeting with the registrars of our institutions in order to make sure that we are indeed prepared for the 2024 academic year. I have already been doing that, but it's very important that we need to ensure that we tie up any loose ends that might be there. The funding policy that I'm talking about, that we are just finalizing, will also cover issues of eligibility criteria and the issue of student allowances. This is also, by the way, being done against the background of the fact that we are still studying very closely the implications of the medium-term budget policy statement for higher education or for post-school education and training. I'm hoping that moving forward with the policy, as we normally do, we intend, of course, to review the policy each year so as to make sure that we adapt to changing circumstances and we are able to lead from the front. Now, on the opening of the 2024 application season, NSFAS has officially opened its applications this morning, today, and will close on the 31st of January 2024, which gives the scheme students just over 2 months to apply. We urge students to apply for NSFAS. That's their future, those who qualify. And no one must be misled into not applying. The only way to access NSFAS is through applying. Now that we are open, we are calling upon all prospective students to apply, those who will be coming in for the first time and those who are continuing, and also urge parents to move closer to the process so that we are able to ensure that as many of those who must benefit must indeed benefit. The reason we are opening the application period now is that NSFAS was awaiting SARS completion of the tax period, which is very important to enable NSFAS to have the necessary and updated information available during the application season. Remember, we check applications against SARS in order to ensure that the scheme is not robbed. People claiming to be looked after by grannies when in fact the parents are there and some of them are earning enough to be able to pay for themselves. Furthermore, this is done to afford the beneficiaries shorter turnaround times for decision making, which is aligned to NSFAS financial eligibility assessment, which requires updated SARS information, as I say. I urge all students in our universities, public universities and public TVET colleges to apply timeously and not wait until the last day. Students do not have to wait for matric results in order to apply for NSFAS. They can do it right away. NSFAS is mandated to make funding available to poor and working class families, and in adhering to this mandate, they will continue to make immediate funding decisions for SASA first-time entering students. You know, we've got this arrangement that for SASA students it's clearer, it's easier. If you have been a SASA beneficiary of a child grant, it's very easy to decide on that because we also have access to SASA data. I was also pleased to hear that as part of improving services to students, for this application period, there will be no supporting documents required at the time of application other than your details and your ID. Now, it's important that I explain this a little bit because this is an important improvement. That NSFAS now has got linkages with SARS to check parental eligibility, student eligibility. We also now have got interaction with data from Home Affairs, and that we also have, as I have said, access to data from SASA. This is a big improvement because one of the challenges we are still having as government is those who apply either for a job or for services in government. We ask them to go and prove that indeed they do qualify by going for information. I must just make one example. If someone applies to the Department of Higher Education and Training for a position of assistant director, why should that person go and queue in a police station to certify certificates that are sitting with me as minister? You go and certify, you take money, you go all over the place, even with the rest of government for that matter. Since I'm part of government as the Department of Higher Education and Training, no one who is applying for any government job, or for any job for that matter, should be going to this thing of certifying. Each time you apply, you go and certify, when that information is sitting with us as government. So what we are doing here is really trying to improve in this instance that NSFAS will be able to check for itself in terms of the necessary details. This is progress by government and on our side. Now, this, as I say, is due to improve third-party relations, SASA, SARS, and the Department of Home Affairs. But, please, let's not use this to take a chance, because we're going to check. If you rob NSFAS, we're going to come for you. We really need to urge students and parents not to do that. I have always said this, and I do actually want to repeat it. In some instances, we have got parents who have sent their own kids to some of the most expensive private schools in South Africa. Your Hilton College, your Michael House, your Rowdens, you mention them. But when it comes to university, they come, some of them, and say, this child is being looked after by the granny. Why, if you can be able to pay so much, we are then not able to actually pay at university or college? So we want to discourage that very strongly. In the case where a student is submitting an appeal, documents required will be based on NSFAS declaration form that is available on the NSFAS website, where there is additional information needed. In addition, disabled students would like to urge them, they will be required to submit the disability annexure of the application. because they are assessed currently on a 600,000 rand family income per annum. That's their threshold. If you are a student with a disability, you are not limited to 350 to be coming from a family that's earning up to 350,000, but family can earn up to 600,000 in order to be able to cater better for students with disabilities. I therefore urge all applicants to provide accurate parental information when applying, so that when validations occur with Home Affairs, students can be funded timeously. NSFAS will reject or request additional supporting documentation where validations with third parties have failed. All first-time applicants will be able to appeal as soon as they are rejected. However, the returning students and continuing students will only be able to appeal from the end of November, as NSFAS is still improving the processes so that students have multiple reject reasons and appeal at once, instead of the current process where they've been rejected at different points in the application value chain. So we don't want to say you apply, we've been rejected, and then you go and check something else, you are being rejected. We want to do it all at once to see if students do actually meet the criteria, in order to speed up the allocation of resources in the case of students who have been approved. In 2023, the scheme continued to fund SASSA beneficiaries in real time. SASSA beneficiaries account for 35% of the funded NSFAS students. Also, I must say this is government doing very well, because these SASSA beneficiaries are those who have been receiving the child grant up to 18 years, which means that if they then get accepted at a college or a university, they then continue being funded by government. They don't pay, which is the commitment of this government to look after the children of the working class and the poor in particular, from birth at the very least until the first post-school education and training qualification. Remember, applying does not mean you have been confirmed for funding. You still need to be registered first in a public university or TVET college for a funded qualification to be confirmed. In other words, you apply to NSFAS and NSFAS will simply say to you, you qualify to be funded. But in order then for that money to be transferred from NSFAS to an institution, you must have been accepted at a college or a university. In other words, you don't take the money and put it in your pocket and go looking for institution, because NSFAS pays directly to an institution. While some challenges continue, the scheme is working to improve its systems and processes. I do want to say this. NSFAS does admit that it's got challenges that it is working on, but the system is working. It's funding more than 1 million students. Our detractors and those who see the success of this government in funding the poor, they are all out at the moment wanting to discredit NSFAS, because they are using this for opportunistic and electoral purposes in order to try and prove that this scheme is not functional. We have challenges. We are on top of those challenges. We are doing all we can to actually improve, as I have indicated also with third-party information, and this still remains one of the most important achievements by government. I do need to say this, by the way, also. NSFAS is different from any other grant that governments give. If you're getting a social grant, fine, it helps you to go and get food. Housing grant, it helps you to get housing. I'm not saying that those things are not important. They are very important. But NSFAS changes your life. By qualifying, having a diploma, a certificate or a degree, that changes your life, and it even breaks this thing of families handing over to their children nothing but poverty. With NSFAS we break that. So it's very important then that this scheme is continuing and government is committed to it. I'm also pleased that NSFAS now has a mobile app, which is another improvement, that can be downloaded on iOS, Android and Huawei to allow students to apply seamlessly. Congratulations to NSFAS for introducing this modern technology innovation, which will make it easy for students to apply for NSFAS funding. The entity is also planning on rolling out a strategy that will improve its query handling processes. I have said to NSFAS very clearly, to the chair and the board and management, NSFAS must be amongst the fastest institutions to respond to queries and appeals. Applicants must not stay for weeks without knowing whether their appeals are there or not. Of course, we still need to improve our IT systems, but even without IT systems, we can go a long way. That is why also I would like to use this opportunity. NSFAS is an entity that has got its own board, its own management, but I have a right to appeal as minister directly to staff at NSFAS. Please work even harder, because the work you are doing is actually supporting changing the lives of the children of the working class and the poor. I urge all NSFAS staff to do all they can, because no matter what changes we make here, if they do not commit to actually be doing the work that they are supposed to do, I'm not saying they are not doing any work, we appreciate that they are doing work, but I urge them to even work harder, so that we are able to address these very important matters that affect the children of the working class and the poor. Now, the introduction of these facilities for applications will enable students to receive responses directly and reduce the reliance on calls. And this will provide a self-serving mechanism, this WhatsApp app, to deal with this. On student accommodation, I was informed that the chairperson of the board, Mr. Khosa, and the acting CEO met with University South Africa's chairperson and CEO on the 18th of November to discuss issues of student accommodation. It was brought to my attention that the entity will be embarking on a pilot project for universities in 2024. Details of the pilot will be shared by NSFAS after a detailed concept document is finalized. The TVET colleges pilot had already commenced in 2023 academic year, and the entity will be leveraging on lessons learned to improve the management of student accommodation services for 2024. Institutions are therefore requested not to enter into long-term lease agreements and are further advised to consult with NSFAS on issues affecting student accommodation, particularly for NSFAS beneficiaries. I don't have the details at the moment, but as government we are intending to pay closer attention to the issues of student accommodation, so that we make sure that NSFAS students are looked after properly. On the close-up project, USAF was updated on the findings of the Auditor General on the close-out project from between 2017 and 2023. Subsequently, NSFAS met with all the universities and TVET colleges to share progress on this project and the implementation of the Auditor General's recommendations. Both the South African Public Colleges principals and Universities South Africa will be notified of the institutions with outstanding submissions to conclude this process. I wish to urge all our institutions to work with NSFAS to ensure that this project is concluded without any further delays. On the NSFAS call center, I have directed NSFAS, as I have said earlier, to look at improving its call center. There are just still too many complaints about the NSFAS call center. NSFAS call center can't afford to falter. I have said to NSFAS, pay close attention to this, and I'm expecting improvements before the beginning of the academic year. Very briefly on the comprehensive student funding model, which also aims to address the issue of the missing middle, I'm delighted to report that the comprehensive student funding model proposals are in the process of being finalized by Cabinet, and more details will be provided on this development, hopefully before the end of the year. In conclusion, and in closing, I would like to urge all young South Africans aspiring to attend our public TVET colleges and universities from 2024 to utilize the online application system and other access points to apply on time for funding, to ensure that decisions can be made timelessly. And I wish all the applicants the best of luck. This government is committed to providing access to post-school education and training to the children of the working class and the poor. Once again, I would like to reiterate my commitment and that of my department to work closely with the NSFAS board and the team at NSFAS, as well as with all our public universities and TVET colleges, to improve the effectiveness of our student funding system. I would like to thank all our state organs, which includes the South African Revenue Service, the Department of Social Development and its organ SASA, the Department of Basic Education, and the Department of Home Affairs, who continue to work with NSFAS to ensure that we fund all the deserving students. I would like to thank the leadership of my Department of Higher Education and Training, NSFAS, our TVET colleges and universities, and the many people working at our universities and colleges who are continuously providing support to our students to succeed. Your hard work is critical to the success of the students who are our future leaders. And I once more want to say to the students who are receiving NSFAS, this often is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Make use of it. Grab it with both hands. Concentrate on your studies and aim to pass on record time. We know many of you coming from poor families. There's lots of expectations from you when you work or start working. Make sure that you work hard and aim to finish on time. Do not allow things to detract you from focusing on your studies. I would also like to thank the student leadership of our institutions and national organizations for their support to students and to NSFAS as well as in our institutions. Together we can make NSFAS work. I thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Minister, for the comprehensive statement covering almost all the aspects of the application process to enable all prospective and current NSFAS students or beneficiaries to make their applications. We will now give to the members of the media an opportunity for clarity-seeking questions. And for those that have, who are sending us messages to send a statement, it shall be sent as soon as this briefing is done electronically. You will receive it at the Department of Higher Education and Training website, NSFAS website, as well as the GCIS website. The statement will be shared in those platforms, including in the social media pages. And the TM's website, I'm told. Botagalan, do we have questions online? Okay, we don't have any questions online. Can we take questions from the colleagues here? Please do indicate your name and the organization that you are representing. Thank you. If the statement is clear, colleagues, it's not a crime not to ask any question. I can see the Sunday world is fine today. That's encouraging. So the message is clear. SABC, ENCA, Newsroom Africa. Who else is here?
That's a sign that
other colleagues
I report very well.
Okay, now I sparked interest. Okay, sis. From the Sunday world.
Yeah, it's from Sunday world. I think you're forcing us to ask questions. So ask questions. Can you just tell us more about the pilot that you are running at TVET colleges?
Accommodation pilot.
Accommodation.
Okay.
And in the report on the direct payment, there was an issue with the feasibility study. Can you just tell us whether this was done on the accommodation project that you will be embarking on? And congratulations, Minister. I heard Ishmael referring you as Prof.
Yeah, Bonk.
Okay. Thank you very much, Pumla. Did I spark any interest from other colleagues? Okay.
These questions is a question.
All right. Only two questions. It's about the accommodation pilot and the direct payment feasibility studies. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sunday World, for that question. Yes, one of the issues that were raised by the Bergman's Nukaitugo report was the absence of some study on effecting a direct payment system. We took note of that. We acting upon it. Now, the pilot project on TVET colleges and on universities followed a long process of investigations by NSFAS, investigations that took different forms. One of whom was a direct consultation with stakeholders at a micro level. So that was a direct consultation and testing the idea with the universities themselves, with the TVET colleges themselves, and I believe more than 70% of the universities were part of testing this idea. The other form that testing this idea took was gathering all accommodation providers and interested parties under one roof, which happened in June last year in Bloemfontein to test the idea further, which idea was met with overwhelming support. Now, I must indicate that a pilot project is part of the study. That's why, after all the observations we made, we decided we're not going to wake up one morning and take over accommodation in total. We will do this in a phased way, in a form of a pilot. It is part of a study. The TVET leg of the pilot has already started. We had so many lessons out of that, which will help us perfect what we're going to do with universities in the beginning of the next year. So unlike the direct payment system that involved, this involved real testing of ideas. And I must just emphasize that we had overwhelming support for this intervention from all stakeholders, including student formations. Thank you.
Okay. There is another interest arising from the responses. Okay, let's give you an opportunity. We still have a few minutes of our time.
Minister, now that we have you here, you gave Mthunzi Dwaba 7 days to retract and apologize for the allegations of the 500 million bribe, or you'll take legal action. Just maybe an update. Are you taking legal action, or what's going to happen going forward?
Do you want to respond to that?
Also, can I just close on NSFAS matters, hoping that we are done. I just wanted to make 2 points. I'm still wanting to plead with parents to please take interest in your own dependents. That they are now adults, no longer at school, does not mean that they are still not your dependents. Take interest to know if how they are doing at university or college, as much as you can. Take interest also as to where they stay and how they are staying if they are not staying at home. This is a real plea because it will make us work closer. My frustration since I became minister in this department has been that there is an absence of parents. We are not saying that students, they are not adults, but also it's important for parents to know, because there are many things we need to work together on in order to ensure that we create the kind of a system that we've made. Yes, Dwaba. I wrote him a letter. What day is it today? I think last Monday. He has not responded to me. I am definitely going to be taking further action on that. Because I want to say this, by the way. It's like if we are ministers, we are sitting ducks. Anybody can just wake up and say, the minister has stolen so much, the minister has done this, and because you are a minister, anybody can just say something and get away with it. I am with him, Dwaba. He must prove this by whatever means he thinks he has. I have stolen no money. I have asked no one to go and look for money for me. Through him, I have known him, Dwaba. In the past, I have no relationship with him. In some instances, he knows where we know each other when he was a member of council at UWC, and also when he was a service provider at Khosa. There are certain things that I know about him then. I have no relationship with him. I have not asked. So people, you see, before, I don't want to go too much on this DM. At some stage I was accused of having taken 500,000 rand from a certain William Adisha, who now Cope was fired. And that time, because it was the first time I was being accused, I'm telling you, I had to run around, subject myself, what do you call this? Lifestyle audit. I don't want to talk as if people going into my bedroom to count how many petticoats my wife has. Could I afford them? It went to that. They're literally opening everything. Because I was inexperienced at that time. If you make an accusation, prove it. You can't make an accusation, then I turn myself into an accused. So you must actually go and prove it. And I will not rest until this matter is concluded. I have no relationship with him, Dwaba. I wish to have no relationship with him. And he must prove. Yesterday, as far as I'm aware from my lawyers, he has not responded. And now I'm going to take the next action. I wish there was something quicker than suing in our legal system. That you can chase a person and say, tomorrow you provide this evidence, or else But our democracy and legal system takes forever. You have this thing hanging. But I will take action such that the sooner the better. This employer mustn't think that we're actually sitting duck by being ministers. I know people would not like this. We work very hard as ministers and deputy ministers, by the way. We work very hard. People think that we are into this. Things that we get, perks and so on. We work hard, very hard. For someone to just come from the air to make such accusations. I hope nothing more comes out with regard to him in this process. Thank you very much.
Maybe, Minister, one other part which I think we need to also raise is with relation to how the media has also conducted themselves in reporting this. There is one institution which somebody went on rampage, also with information that was untested, and the minister has exercised his legal rights against that institution and that individual. I will leave it at that for now. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Minister, DM, Chair, CEO, DDG. Thank you very much. Thank you very much all. Siabo.
Thanks, Jim. No, Siabo. So it's up to you now. Oh, is this GCIS?
No, sir.
No.
No, sir.
Oh.
He must say who he is. Huh? He must say who he is. Edgur.
From?
Inside education.
Inside education. Okay, you stand up.
So because it's inside. Sorry. I helped you.